I think the biggest mistake that people make with respect to poker that also translates into away from the felt is the way they manage their money. And I think you see, poker doesn't really change the way people act. It just exposes how they would behave in a normal situation. And so you see people manage their money in a way that's very poor on the table. It's a reflection of how they manage their money as well off the table. And of course, gambling, makes it people more emotional and people prone to make worse decisions. But when you really look at like what people are doing with their money that they're making playing poker, and then you watch the patterns of what they're doing with spending that money away from the table, you really get to see a pattern of overall bankroll management, not just how they manage their poker bankroll, but how they manage their life roll and their spending habits as well. And I think the biggest thing that gets in the way of otherwise good winning players potentially making it in poker or making it in business as well is just there's too much money being spent on dumb shit. And it's like in poker, you'll see someone, make 4,000 and then immediately go to the club and punt it all away. And I'm saying this from a place of real humility because I did this for years. And I was, the king punter. Like I just did so many dumb, if there's a dumb thing you could do with money in poker, I've done it. And so.
What made that change?
My wife. So I learned the hard way that, you can make a ton of money playing poker or running a business or doing whatever. But ultimately, if you spend more than you make, you're always going to be broke. And I learned the hard way in the sense that I punted a lot of money on dumb stuff. Like I remember when I first, ran up a huge bankroll, I won a big tournament in Australia, and I played this guy heads up online, and I just won a bunch of money in a day. Like instead of putting it all into a house and getting, rental income or whatever, or like 401k, like no, I went out and bought a brand new M6 BMW in cash that day because that was like, cool, I won a bunch of money, I'm going to go do that. I was 19, and like that was cool shit to do when you're 19, And so if there's a mistake, and that's a terrible thing to do with money, in my opinion. Like it's cool that I did it. I'm glad I went through it. I learned a lot from it. But like in terms of like strategic bankroll management, that would be like terrible financial advice. So I'm saying this from a place of humility because if there is a thing that you could do with money that I would recommend not doing, it's because I've done it. And so I think the biggest mistake I see young people making in poker today is they just don't save enough. And they're not aware as necessarily of how valuable the money they're making is and how many options that gives them later in their life, and that maybe not even aware that someday they're not always going to want to have to play poker. But they're not always going to want to have to work. And it's cool to be able to play poker. It's cool to be able to win money playing poker. But you don't always want to have to play in order to pay bills or make money or work your job to pay bills, whatever it is. And so saving money gives you those options. No matter how much money you make, if you save a decent part of it, you will be set up when you're older and you won't have to worry about money long term. If you just pretend like there's a 20 or 30% tax on all the money you make, you put it into investing into yourself and your retirement plan and your Roth IRA or whatever it is, you're going to be set up. And so I think if I look back on my poker career at a young age, if there's one thing that I would tell my younger self, it would be to save more money and spend less money on dumb shit and not need anything. And now I've gotten to that place and I'm really grateful. I'm in my 30 and I'm at that place where I just don't spend money in my life. Like I spend money on traveling, I spend money on experiences, I spend money at Whole Foods, and that's it. Like I have very few things that eat away at my monthly income, and if I made like $50K a year, I'd be fine. Like I could live off that, I'd live a great life, I'd be totally fucking happy because I don't need anything. And so I think the biggest mistake I'm seeing is that. And like people are just really hanging themselves and shooting themselves in the foot by needing dumb shit and spending money on things that just aren't bringing them happiness or helping them reach their long-term goals. And that's just painful.